This is the story of Seok Jun, the ultimate shut-in loser. One day the world suddenly ended. The entire planet fell into chaos as buildings collapsed and people began dying one by one. Then a pandemic struck. At first, everyone was in shock. The stock market crashed and the world plunged into panic. News spread like wildfire. The world is going to end. Wars broke out and countries started fighting each other. Economies fell apart, food shortages hit the planet, even a small packet of noodles sold for millions. Desperation filled the streets as people begged and protested. It was a disaster beyond imagination. But it wasn't humanity's doing. Suddenly fantasy monsters appeared on Earth. That was the true end of humanity. Just like in a typical novel, humans began awakening special abilities. They became metahumans and system notifications appeared, granting tools to fight the creatures. Up to this point, it seemed like a classic setup. But here is the twist. Despite their newfound powers, the creatures were nightmares on hell difficulty. The so-called metahuman abilities were useless. The monsters slaughtered humans like they were nothing. In just 3 days, the Earth was almost completely destroyed. Then the scene shifted and the real story began. The camera panned to a tall building, untouched amidst a sea of ruins. Inside this building lived Seok Jun. The scene cut to Seok Jun lounging in his messy room, casually eating chips from a packet. His appearance was shabby. He looked weak in an old stained white t-shirt. Seok Jun munched on chips and sipped a nearly empty cold drink. He sighed. The world was almost destroyed, but here he was, chilling like nothing happened. The room was detailed in chaos. Piles of empty ramen packets, crumpled tissues and trash bags stacked in corners filled with food waste. Seok Jun continued with a hint of sadness. In this 100 square meter apartment, he was alone. His mum, dad, grandpa and grandma were all outside. He remembered his backstory. His father had bought this apartment, spending 200 million borrowed from the bank and another 200 million from his life savings. The plan was for someone to live here for 2 years to get tax benefits from owning property in this luxury building. That was why Seok Jun, despite not being wealthy, ended up here, but now with the sudden apocalypse, he was trapped alone. Did he care? Not at all. Seok Jun was the ultimate shut-in. He preferred to stay home. But he had one major complaint: no internet. The apocalypse outside was bad enough, but no internet was an even bigger nightmare. Staring at his phone with a depressed look, he thought, what do I even do now? No internet? How am I supposed to survive this? Suddenly he froze. He heard a loud scream outside. He crept to the window and peeked through. A gigantic creature with terrifying wings flew straight toward his apartment. Seok Jun's eyes widened as he stared at the approaching monster. In seconds, the enormous beast slammed into the window and stopped just outside. The creature was hideous, with a huge, slimy tentacle-like mouth. When it opened its mouth, 3 more mouths emerged, each lined with rows of sharp teeth. The sight was beyond disgusting. Seok Jun thought the creature was about to devour him. With a deafening thud, the monster's body slammed into the window. He shrieked and stumbled backward, falling hard onto the floor. His heart raced as terror gripped him, but then something strange happened. The monster could not enter. It tried again and again to break through the invisible barrier of the apartment. Seok Jun slowly opened his eyes, breathing still heavy with fear. A system notification popped up. A subject not permitted to enter had attempted to breach the room. Entry had been prevented by the system. He stared at the notification with confusion. What was this system? Why couldn't the monster enter? Slowly realization dawned. Whatever this system was, it was protecting him. Moments later, a blue barrier formed in front of his window. Curious and desperate, he tried to open the door, but it was completely stuck. Frustrated, he kicked the door in anger. After half an hour of struggling, it would not budge. Exhausted, he slumped to the floor and slowly approached the window, staring outside, face filled with frustration. He explained this was the 3rd day of the apocalypse. While his ability kept him safe, it completely trapped him in his house. The dark truth began to sink in. Sitting in darkness, he watched the world outside fall apart. 3 days into the apocalypse, there was no light in his home. He was engulfed in darkness. His food supply ran dangerously low, and within a day or two, he would have nothing left to eat. The realization that all doors were locked deepened his misery. Forced to use plastic bags for his basic needs, he cursed his ultimate shut-in-house ability. While it protected him from threats, it had imprisoned him. He shouted in frustration, "I'm stuck in here, I can't do anything." He muttered that while he was safe, his real problem was food. Supplies were almost gone, the fridge had no power, and remaining food began to spoil. All that was left were a few packets of ramen. Desperation gripped him as he chewed on his fingers, lost on what to do next. Out of nowhere, the system chimed. Seok Jun had hunted a level 23 Calican. You gained experience points and your skills leveled up. He sat in shock. How did I hunt something? I haven't left the room. He stared at the notification, struggling to make sense. Then it clicked. He sprang to his feet, rushed to the balcony and looked down. The lifeless body of the massive winged creature that crashed into his window earlier lay on the ground below. Its huge body was surrounded by armed goblins. He thought, did I somehow hunt that thing just because it crashed into my window? As he pieced things together, the system notified him again. You have obtained a new skill. Nearby loot meets the requirements and the system is calculating the loot. Before he could fully process this, the goblins below acted strangely. They became aggressive, letting out loud, piercing screams. He stared in confusion, unable to understand. Suddenly the goblins clutched their heads in agony while others tore apart the flying beast with bare hands and nails. Then the system announced, loot calculation complete. Seok Jun had gained 2.2 million, an amount equivalent to $1,500. It was deposited into his ultimate shut-in wallet. He was stunned by such a large sum. Suddenly, lights in his room flickered on. He realized not only were the lights working, all fans and other appliances were functioning. The system notified him again. The ultimate shut-in system upgraded. A new passive skill house declaration level 3 activated. He was shocked. As realization of restored electricity sank in, shock turned to happiness. He clenched his fist, rushed to the fridge, opened the door and saw it working. Not stopping, he hurried to the bathroom, turned on the tap and water flowed freely. Testing further, the induction cooktop powered on. Overwhelmed with joy, he collapsed to the floor. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, everything is working again just like before. He had truly believed he would die alone, without electricity or water. But fate gave him a chance. After calming, an idea struck. He glanced at his phone, with hope. Could the internet be back too? But hope was crushed when the screen still showed no internet. He grabbed his head in despair, slumped to the floor, sad and defeated. After a while, his hand hit something. Looking down, he saw a pen drive next to the garbage bin. Curiously, he picked it up and inserted it into his computer. The pen drive contained old photos. As pictures flashed, he saw his mother feeding him as a baby. Another photo showed younger Seok Jun ready for kindergarten, holding his mother's hand. The slideshow continued with a teenage Seok Jun smiling with his happy parents. Finally, a photo showed him at age 20, standing proudly with mum and dad both beaming. Seeing the photos filled him with mixed emotions. Irritation and anger welled up as he gritted his teeth. He muttered, I need to bring my family into this safe house. No matter what, I will get out and save them. This became his goal. Seok Jun stood up with renewed determination and walked back to his balcony. As he approached it, he thought about how he could escape his house. He decided to check all his abilities, hoping for a clue to break free. While examining his skills, he noticed something new. The ultimate shut-in store level 1. The system explained that through this store he could buy any item he listed and it would appear at its original market price. Seok Jun was puzzled. He did not fully understand how the store worked or how to use it. Then the store notified him to list an item as his first purchase. His total balance of 2.2 million was displayed and the system prompted, will Seok Jun list his first item? In front of his eyes, the system notification blinked persistently. My items listed in the store at their original price. Seok Jun stared at the message confused. What is this store? What type of items can it even have? Despite his confusion, he decided to click on the list icon. As soon as his finger touched it, 2 more notifications appeared. Seok Jun's ultimate shut-in wallet was a max-level wallet currently holding 2.2 million. Would you like to list your first item? Staring at the notification, he realized the money he had earned from the flying beast was now safely stored in this wallet. Letting out a sigh, he reflected on the situation. Still deep in thought, he walked over to the window. Slowly he opened it and stepped onto his balcony, thinking, maybe this is my chance to finally leave the room. But just as hope flickered in his mind, the system interrupted with another notification. The ultimate shut-in cannot leave the house. A wave of disappointment washed over him. He had hoped leveling up might grant freedom from the barrier, but those hopes were crushed. His hands tightened into fists as he faced the harsh reality. However, a new determination began to build. Clenching his fists tightly, he resolved that if he kept killing monsters and leveling up, he might unlock a skill that allowed him to leave this room in the future. He began to think that continued leveling could eventually grant the power to escape, but another question lingered. If I cannot leave this room, how can I kill monsters? Seok Jun started pacing. The flying beast hitting his window had been a 1 in a million chance, extremely rare and unlikely to happen again. Determined, he decided he must find a way to kill monsters while staying confined to his room. After spending several minutes brainstorming, he noticed something unusual below. The goblins were busy tearing chunks of meat from the flying beast corpse. He studied them closely. They did not seem particularly powerful. A thought crossed his mind. Could it be possible to kill them from here? Without wasting time, he rushed back into his room. He grabbed a water bottle, held it tightly, and stretched his arm back. Using all his strength, he hurled the bottle off the balcony. The bottle whooshed through the air and landed beyond the barrier. Seok Jun's eyes sparkled with realization. I can't leave my room, but whatever I throw outside can cross the barrier. This discovery excited him. His plan began to form. He would throw heavy objects at the goblins from his room to crush them and earn experience points. Seok Jun began searching his house for anything heavy enough to use as a weapon. After scouring every corner, he found a 5-kilogram dumbbell, a long-forgotten purchase for building his body. Holding it, he smiled, feeling its weight. But as he stepped onto the balcony and looked down, his smile vanished. The goblins, now carrying large chunks of the flying beast meat, were starting to leave the area. Panic rose in his chest. If they leave, how will I kill monsters and level up? Without hesitation, he stretched his arms and gripped the dumbbell tightly. With all his might, he hurled it toward the goblins. The dumbbell soared through the air, passing effortlessly through the barrier. Seok Jun watched anxiously as it descended. To his disappointment, it landed on the flying beast meat instead of hitting any goblins. The sound sent the goblins into a frenzy. They screamed and looked around, trying to figure out what had just happened. Frustration boiled inside him. His face turned red as he realized he had messed up. Now he had only one dumbbell left, and the chances of leveling up seemed slimmer than ever. Seok Jun stood frozen, holding the remaining dumbbell tightly. His thoughts spiraled. What if I miss again? If the second dumbbell does not hit, I will have no weapons left to defend myself. His grip tightened and his eyes narrowed with determination. He could not afford another mistake. Standing in one spot, his mind raced. No matter how much he searched, there was nothing heavy enough to handle all the goblins. TVs, computers, even the fridge. He was not strong enough to throw them. Suddenly, a loud noise startled him. The goblins' chaotic screams echoed from outside. His heart skipped a beat as he rushed to the balcony. To his shock, many goblins had gathered in front of his building. At the center stood their leader, a goblin with hair shaped like a chicken beak and dangerous-looking six-pack abs. In the leader's hand was Seok Jun's dumbbell. The leader pointed at him with a menacing glare and began yelling in a strange language. Behind him, the other goblins joined in, screaming and making wild gestures. Seok Jun took a step back, body tense. Even though he knew the goblins could not enter his house, the sight of hundreds of them screaming sent chills down his spine. Then in the blink of an eye, all the goblins charged toward his building, weapons raised and screaming like maniacs. But instead of panicking, his expression changed. A thought crossed his mind. This is not a scary situation. In fact, this might be a good thing. The goblins had been leaving earlier, but now more were gathering near his building. The only problem was, he needed to find items to throw at them fast. As he racked his brain, an idea clicked. Seok Jun immediately opened his system notification and activated the ultimate shut-in store. Without hesitation, he clicked on the list item icon. The system prompted him to confirm if he wanted to list his first item. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if this was a good idea. Slowly, he picked up his last remaining dumbbell and thought about what to do. He knew that throwing this single dumbbell might not kill many goblins. Worse, if his aim failed, he could miss entirely. Yet something deep inside told him that this store could be the solution to his problems. Without delay, Seok Jun issued the command to place the dumbbell into the ultimate shut-in store. Suddenly, a holographic light flashed over his hand and scanned the dumbbell. For a moment, he panicked, thinking the system might take the dumbbell away. But as the light faded, he realized he was still holding it. The system had only scanned the item. Then the system notified him that his classic, non-slip 3-kilogram dumbbell had been successfully listed in the store. Seok Jun quickly checked the store menu and saw the dumbbell listed at a price of $16.99. He was stunned. It was the exact same price he had paid in the market. This realization was revolutionary. Anything Seok Jun listed in the store could be purchased again at its original market value. As long as he had enough money, he could buy an unlimited number of items. To test this, he commanded the system to create 2 more dumbbells. The moment he confirmed the purchase, a white light shone from the store. Right before his eyes, 2 new dumbbells materialized in the air, as if they were being 3D printed. His face lit up with excitement. His eyes sparkled as he realized he no longer had to worry about running out of dumbbells. Without wasting another second, he carefully aimed and with a loud whoosh, threw a dumbbell toward the goblins. This time, things were different. The goblins were standing much closer to his building, all grouped together in one spot. As the dumbbell descended, it struck one goblin squarely on the head. Crack! The goblin's skull burst open, blood splattering everywhere. The creature collapsed to the ground, dead on the spot. Almost immediately, the system notified Seok Jun that he had successfully hunted a level 7 goblin. He had earned 33,451 experience points, which were deposited directly into his ultimate shut-in wallet. His heart raced with excitement. His plan was working and leveling up now seemed possible. However, a quick realization tempered his enthusiasm. Each dumbbell cost $16.99, while he earned only 3.1 per goblin kill. It was a terrible trade-off. Seok Jun frowned. This is a massive loss, spending so much for so little return. But despite the imbalance, he felt a sense of happiness. He had managed to kill a goblin without leaving the safety of his house. Meanwhile, outside, the goblins were stunned. They could not understand how one of their comrades had suddenly died. Looking around in confusion, they gathered near the corpse, inspecting it. As the realization dawned that one of them was dead, the goblins became enraged. They screamed their anger and glared up at Seok Jun's balcony. Some even began hurling insults in their strange language. Suddenly, another dumbbell came flying toward them. But this time the goblins were prepared. With a loud bang, the dumbbell hit the ground as the goblins dodged it effortlessly. Their disdain was evident. They looked unimpressed, their reactions mocked him. Seeing this, Seok Jun grew increasingly annoyed. Determined not to give up, he purchased more 3-kilogram dumbbells from the ultimate shut-in store. Seok Jun knew he was taking a financial loss, spending 16,999 won per dumbbell with no guarantee of hitting a goblin. Even when he succeeded, the payout of 3,101 was just a fraction of the cost. But money was not his goal. Leveling up was all that mattered now. For a brief moment, he considered listing larger items like TVs or fridges in the store. But the thought quickly faded. Those items were not only expensive, but also too cumbersome to use. The goblins would easily dodge them. With a deep breath, Seok Jun steadied himself and prepared to continue his battle against the goblins. He abandoned the idea of listing larger items and focused on purchasing more dumbbells. Armed with a stockpile of these weights, he began throwing them one by one in rapid succession. The dumbbells struck goblins with deadly precision, crushing their heads and killing them instantly. The system flooded him with notifications of his successful kills. Level 7, level 8, and even level 10 goblins. With each kill, he earned rewards of 2,101, 3,001, and 4,010 respectively. But true to his plan, his focus was not on the money. After killing 4 or 5 goblins, he received the notification he had been waiting for. He had leveled up. The system informed him of his new level and granted a skill upgrade. His heart raced with excitement. This was exactly what he had been aiming for. The system revealed that he had acquired the ultimate shut-in storage system level 1. An alternate dimension where he could store and retrieve items at will. Intrigued, he immediately activated his new skill. A holographic, house-like interface appeared before him. Curious, he attempted to store his remaining dumbbells in the storage system. The system prompted him to confirm. He agreed, and a bright light flashed over his hands. One by one, the dumbbells vanished into the system. Seok Jun checked the storage interface and confirmed that all his dumbbells were safely stored. Whenever he needed them, he could summon the items instantly from this alternate dimension. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he experimented further. With a single command, he summoned a dumbbell, and it materialized directly in his hand. A grin spread across his face as he realized the full potential of his new ability. His grin slowly transformed into an evil, psychopathic smile as his mind began formulating a devious plan. Time passed, and an intense blue light began glowing from his room. He had purchased hundreds of dumbbells and stored them in his ultimate shut-in storage system. Standing on his balcony, he stretched out his hand and closed his eyes. He imagined all the dumbbells stored within the system, and with a single command summoned them all at once. Like a torrential rain, hundreds of dumbbells fell from the sky, crashing down on the goblins below. The goblins were overwhelmed, unable to dodge the relentless onslaught. One by one, they were crushed, blood splattering everywhere as the dumbbells struck with deadly precision. The system continuously notified him of his kills and earnings. After 3 to 4 minutes, the massacre ended. All the goblins lay dead, and the system announced that he had earned 56,601. Seok Jun has also been busy listing various items in the ultimate shoot-in store. Alongside his dumbbells, he has listed groceries like classic non-slip dumbbells, ramen, sandwich or water, rice, special eggs, milk yogurt, canola oil, and even half-used tomato ketchup. Despite spending heavily to kill the goblins, Seok Jun discovers he has 2.1 million in his account. This surprising balance is due to his ingenious strategy. After killing all the goblins, Seok Jun sold his remaining dumbbells in the store, earning a 90% return on their cost. Although he spent 1,000 per dumbbell to kill each goblin, he still managed to gain a net profit of 2,001 per goblin. With all his groceries now listed in the store, Seok Jun essentially has unlimited resources at his disposal. However, he soon notices something strange. His money begins decreasing 1 unit at a time. Initially, Seok Jun had 2.1 million in his account, but now it has decreased to 2.1 million minus 1. Every minute, another unit vanishes. Seok Jun starts analyzing the situation. He rules out the dumbbells and the listing of items in the store, since those expenses would have been deducted earlier. After careful thought, Seok Jun comes to a conclusion. The deductions must be related to his dignity preservation skill. This passive skill ensures that his house has electricity, water, and other essential facilities. The system must be deducting funds from Seok Jun's ultimate shut-in wallet to maintain these utilities. Seok Jun turns to look at his fridge, realizing that the electricity powering it must be part of the expense. Though irritated by the ongoing deductions, Seok Jun knows he needs a steady source of income to sustain his lifestyle. Looking out from his balcony, Seok Jun sees the aftermath of his attack. Almost all the goblins were killed by the torrential rain of dumbbells. The few survivors, terrified by the onslaught, have fled the area. Seok Jun smirks to himself, knowing that his efforts were not only effective, but also a step closer to leveling up further. The goblins nearby had fled, and those further away showed no intention of coming closer to Seok Jun's house. 3 to 4 hours passed. during which Seok Jun managed to kill only 1 or 2 goblins. Frustration began to creep in when Seok Jun looked outside again. There wasn't a single goblin in sight. Seok Jun's irritation grew. If the goblins didn't approach his house, how would he level up without killing goblins? He couldn't progress. And if he couldn't progress, he would never gain the strength or ability to leave his house. The thought of being stuck in this stagnant state only made Seok Jun angrier. As he paced his balcony brooding over his situation, something caught his eye. He glanced down and noticed the huge slimy crow-like flying beast from earlier. Its head remained intact, even though the goblins had harvested most of its other parts. Seok Jun paused, his gaze fixed on the grotesque creature. There are no goblins down there now, he muttered to himself, but I need a new technique, something to help me level up and move forward. He leaned over the balcony, his mind racing with ideas. He wondered if he'd ever get lucky enough for another flying beast to crash into his barrier and die, just like before. Suddenly his eyes widened in shock. The huge, slimy, crow-like beast began to stir. Slowly, it drifted towards Seok Jun's building. As it got closer, Seok Jun could make out more details, and the sight made his stomach churn. The beast looked even more grotesque and dangerous than before. Its gaping mouth opened, revealing a writhing mass of tentacle-like teeth. From its mouth emerged 2, then 3, twisting tentacles that seemed to have no end. The flying beast didn't appear to be attacking. It seemed to be passing by Seok Jun's building, but its mere presence was enough to leave Seok Jun stunned. Without wasting another second, Seok Jun ran back into his house, an idea flashing in his mind. A brilliant one. Thank God, Seok Jun muttered. Luck hasn't abandoned me yet. He remembered something. This flying beast resembled a crow, and crows were known to be attracted to reflective objects. Seok Jun decided to use this to his advantage. He rushed around his house, found a ladder, and tied a small mirror to it. He secured the mirror tightly, ensuring it wouldn't come loose. With the ladder in hand, Seok Jun returned to his balcony. Carefully, he lowered it, positioning the reflective surface where the flying beast could see it. His plan banked on the idea that, like ordinary crows, this crow-like beast would be drawn to the shiny object, and it worked. As soon as the beast caught sight of the mirror, all its attention fixated on Seok Jun. The creature let out a disgusting roar, opened its gaping mouth, and flew straight toward him. Seeing the beast's reaction, Seok Jun smiled. His plan had worked, but his smile quickly faded. He had hoped the beast would be as dumb as a regular crow and crash. But this beast was smarter. The creature stopped just short of Seok Jun's window. It didn't crash. Instead, it hovered there, glaring at him through the barrier. Then, to Seok Jun's utter shock, the beast began speaking in its own language. The crow-like beast looked hungry, its piercing eyes sizing Seok Jun up, as though calculating how to devour him. Seok Jun's heart raced. If the beast didn't kill itself on the barrier, how would he defeat it? Before Seok Jun could react, the beast began flapping its massive wings. A powerful gust of wind surged toward him, creating immense pressure. Seok Jun gritted his teeth, gathering all his strength to stand firm against the force. The wind was so strong he could barely keep his eyes open. As the gusts settled, a thick fog formed around him. For a moment, everything was eerily silent. When the fog cleared, Seok Jun's heart sank. The beast was gone. Cautiously, Seok Jun stepped back onto his balcony and peered over the edge, scanning the area for any sign of the creature. His nerves were on edge, his heart pounding in his chest. Then, with a sinking feeling, Seok Jun realized the truth. The crow-like beast hadn't left. It was still there, perched silently just above his balcony, waiting, lurking, watching him with an unsettling patience. The moment Seok Jun steps out far enough, the crow-like beast plans to strike. It opens its grotesque mouth, saliva dripping as it inches closer to devouring Seok Jun. A wave of fear washes over him. Sure, the barrier will protect him, but the sight of such a disgusting creature up close would terrify anyone. The beast lifts its head and slams it against the barrier, attempting to reach Seok Jun. The system immediately notifies him. An unauthorized entity is attempting to enter the barrier. Stop the unauthorized entity from breaching, but the crow-like beast does not give up. It slams into the barrier again and again, each attempt more ferocious than the last. Though still scared, Seok Jun knows the barrier is strong and will hold. But the thought, what if it breaks, sends chills through him. What if this dangerous beast somehow manages to breach the barrier? Determined not to waste any more time, Seok Jun opens his ultimate shut-in store. He recalls how his loot calculation skill works. It only activates if a monster killed by Seok Jun dies inside the barrier. If a creature's corpse ends up outside the barrier, the loot calculation skill won't trigger. Seok Jun reflects on his previous battles. Many of the goblins he killed had fallen outside the barrier, and he lost out on their loot. Even goblins that were dragged away before fully dying had cost Seok Jun valuable rewards. For the loot calculation to work, the crow beast must die inside the barrier. Not just that it needs to stay inside for a while for the loot to register. This means Seok Jun can't afford any mistakes. He can't risk merely injuring the crow beast. Throwing a TV, a fridge, or even multiple dumbbells at once might injure it, but the beast might survive and flee. Seok Jun knows that if the beast escapes, he will lose the chance to loot it entirely. and if the beast retaliates, it could cause even more chaos. Seok Jun realizes that throwing household items, whether it's a TV, a fridge, or dumbbells, is not an option. He will need a precise, well-executed plan to kill the crow-like beast in one clean strike. Seok Jun grows increasingly irritated as the crow beast continues to attack the barrier again and again without stopping. Time is ticking. He needs to come up with a new idea, and fast. At the same time, Seok Jun's eyes glance at the list of items in his ultimate shut-in store. One of the listed items, canola oil, catches his attention. With a click, an idea sparks in his mind. Seok Jun quickly purchases 20 bottles of canola oil. As soon as he confirms the purchase, the bottles begin materializing before him, appearing as if they're being created by a 3D printer. Every time an item appears, Seok Jun watches in awe. No matter how many times he sees it, the process never fails to surprise him. Once all the bottles of canola oil have been generated, Seok Jun quickly gathers them into his lap and rushes to the kitchen. He wastes no time grabbing a saucepan and pouring the canola oil into it to heat. While the oil heats up, Seok Jun grabs a stick and ties a white t-shirt to it, twisting it tightly. He dips the shirt into the heating oil, allowing it to soak up the liquid completely. Once the t-shirt is thoroughly soaked, Seok Jun carefully sets it aside. He takes the remaining bottles of canola oil and stores them back in his ultimate shut-in store. Now ready, Seok Jun pulls out a lighter and ignites the oil-soaked t-shirt. In an instant, it transforms into a flaming torch. With the torch in hand, Seok Jun runs toward his balcony. As he reaches the balcony, he notices the crow beast still waiting, its disgusting mouth slightly open and drooling in anticipation. It's waiting for Seok Jun to step out so it can attack.